Hello and welcome to Shift Hit the Podcast. No, that's not the name of it. Shift Hits the Fan, everybody. That's the name. Welcome to the podcast. I am Jerry and I am here with the privilege of having the one and only Anthony Pinto. Anthony, hello.
Hi there, hi there. Good. Welcome back, man, from your trip.
Thank you. I came back in one piece. I am happy and happy to be here with you, even if it's just virtually. I'm still
Mm,
wondering when is it that we're going to meet in person, Tony? I'm thinking about that.
yeah.
We need to make some
Mm.
more money so that we can pay for the flight because walking will take too long. So in today's episode, everybody, as you can see, I'm a bit excited today because we're gonna be talking about something that Tony and I are very passionate about, which is actually a question. Do you have a team or do you just have a group of people that work for you or work with you? And the reason why we're talking about that is because when we go to companies or when we work with our clients and we see the team dynamics, sometimes what you call a team is not really a team. It's just a group of people doing stuff together and they're running
Right.
around without any strategy or accountability or we're gonna go through a model in a second right now that Tony's gonna tell us to make sure that we are a team and not just a group of people trying to achieve something together. So, without further ado, Tony, what were the different stages that we were talking about before we started recording, so that the people can get an idea of the stages that a group of people have to go through in order to
Mm.
become a cohesive team?
Okay. Different. So very subtle levels, Jerry. So to come a group, then you get some people together, right? So they start forming the group.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, once you form a group, then the group has got certain objectives to achieve and certain, goals to get to, right? So they got to start working together, right? Whenever when you get people working together, there's going to be some differences, there's going to be some challenges involved. So the group has got to go first from forming, and then they're going to start storming, right? Challenge each other in terms of what do you believe in, what are your values in, how are we going to operate, that sort of thing, right? So they're going to have to storm first, and then but some people don't like storming.
No,
Okay, they
it's
want to
conflict.
avoid
It's sort
it.
of conflict, right? So
Conflict,
they
yeah,
avoid the
sure.
conflict.
Yeah, so if they can get through the storming part, then they can reach the next part, which is called norming, which is then laying down the frameworks and values by which they're going to work together with. Yeah. So you can see now, first they form and then they have to storm and then they can norm. And once they've got that done, then they can start performing. Now, if it's an organization of employees, so they're going to be there for a long term, right? So the group eventually becomes a full team going through all that process, and then they'll stay together. But of course, sometimes groups come together for a project. Yeah. So when they get onto a project, they form the team or the group for the project, the storming and the norming and the performing. And once the project is completed, then of course the last stage is what the model says, or by Bruce Tuckman, is that it's adjourning. That means basically you are disbanding the group or team then. And that also sometimes creates certain I guess challenges for people having to now leave the group, right? The project is done. There's some sadness, disengagement kind of thing. But I think here we're talking more about how to build organizations with effective teams, not just groups. Yeah. And it takes a lot more than that, right? So we've been discussing this in many different areas. So the other simple model is this, right? What makes a team dysfunctional,
Yeah.
right? And we've always come down to one very basic uh, quality, and that is trust, or sometimes we call it psychological safety, right? If a group does not have psychological safety, it's very difficult to move forward. How are you going to be able to conflict? You can't conflict because it's not safe for me to say what I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they must make an effort to get to know each other personally, get to know where each of them are coming from, to build that psychological trust and safety, right? It's very, very essential.
Yeah, but even before that, Tony, we have to, for the people who are listening or watching, we have to take it um, one step earlier. And when you are, let's go back to the hiring point, because you have two aspects, right? You have the one where, let's say that the company is growing fast, so you're going to be hiring fast, obviously, to fill the gaps. One. And two, you have already a company established and you have been given a team. Let's say you're a manager and you're coming into a new role and the team is already there and you have to lead them. So you have these two similar, not similar, but common scenarios. And so let's go back to hiring the team first, because that is really, really important if you get the chance. Because when you have to hire fast, you have to make sure of a few different things. You got to make sure that one, the people that you're hiring fit the culture that you're trying to build in the organization. And two, you also have to know what strengths and weaknesses they have so that you can pair them together so that they can be complementary. Because you cannot just throw people in there and have it figure it out, because that's going to cause a lot of problems, especially when you are looking for accountability, when you're looking for structure, and also team dynamics as well as personalities. All these things just have to come into place before you create this group that you're going to later turn into a team.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's also still part of the processes of coming to a team, right? As Bruce Tuckman put it. Yeah. So you forming is by hiring, right? You form your organization by hiring. And yeah, absolutely right. I mean, I think there's enough experience and research out there that says that if you get people into your organization that don't subscribe to the values of the organization and of the owners for that matter, right? It's not going to work. So especially when you said hiring fast, right? And today things are moving at the speed of thought, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So then people start compromising and get the people in, it doesn't work at the end of the day. So number one, does the organization have very clear values framework that people can subscribe to and believe in, basically? Yeah. I think we talked about the example of Zappos, the company,
That's right.
the
We talked about
retailer
it in the
on.
last year.
Yeah, so they have very clear 10 values, as you talked earlier just now, and you gave another example of a different company, but this Zappos, one of the 10 values is the value of being weird.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and absolutely, if you don't subscribe to those values, you don't get hired, basically. Yeah. And I do believe today most companies are currently putting that down very clearly, that you got to pass the value screen before you can get into this organization.
Yeah.
Because when you have that common values, then you can start trusting people, especially when they start living those values together, right? And when you can do that, then you can then challenge each other openly and safely. You're not feeling that you're going to be, mocked or whatever, or going to be put down when you challenge or when you conflict, right? Because being able to conflict or challenge in a team is critical. And you can't do that. You can't go forward, right? You can't get commitments, you can't get accountability, you can't get focus on results, right? Yeah. So important.
Yeah, and as you said, it's also important to focus on the values of the organization and not just the values of the HR leader that is doing the hiring. Because what happens quite often is that the hiring person is just thinking, can I work with this person? Yes or no? Or does this person is this person similar to me or not? And it has nothing to do with that hiring person. It has to do with the organization and how it works cohesively as a community in the entire organization, based on the culture and the values, not just of the
Yeah.
person, but of the organization. So that's also another point when hiring the right people.
Yeah, and we were talking about the experience just now, but sometimes, yeah, that's in the company, right? But like, what about organizations or what we call them, associations of professionals, uh, accountants, lawyers, doctors, yeah, or even NGOs, right?
Yeah.
So they still serve the community, right? So what's the risk of them not being in a team and really stripping up on everything that they do? Yeah. So I gave you the example earlier about the organization I'm with, right? No names mentioned, but we've got a committee of 10 people, right? And
Yeah.
everyone is, duly qualified. The institute actually does have some stated values. Um, but in some ways, we don't seem to be able to kind of make each other accountable for each other. Um, we don't, for me personally, I said, one of the things we believe in is rapport and building trust, right? But
Yeah.
can you
Me too.
imagine that in the last 2 to 3 years, we've never met physically as a committee, as a team? I said, how do we become a team? We're still just a group getting together, right?
That's
If you
right.
can't meet physically, just to build that, relationship, build that rapport, it's going to be challenging. Yeah. So being part of the group now for me, I see what is the role I can play in driving that elephant in the room out there into the open and addressing that, because it has to happen. And every group has to go through that process to become a team to address any elephants in the room, like, the values that are being violated, or the conflicts that are not being addressed. All very necessary, right?
Yeah,
Um,
and when it comes to also the accountability part, we also have to think about the structure of the team. We have to have set or clear boundaries and clear expectations of each person in the team so that
mm,
we can hold them accountable for. So everybody needs to know, let's say you are organizing a big event, for example. Wink, wink. Organizing a big event. Everyone who is involved needs to have a clear description of their role. They need to know what they are supposed to do, and they need to know what the others are doing so that they can help each other out and that they
mm,
can, just come to the goal and achieve it together. But if you are running around like crazy chickens trying to put out fires, you're not going to
mm.
get very far because you're wasting all that energy in trying to get yourself organized instead of spending that energy into accomplishing the goal in time, in budget, and maybe even earlier and with a good mood, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, I think this organization now, so we're going to think about, okay, when you want to be a team, we can be a team for a project, we can be a team for a department, we can be the team for the organization, right? Of course, it's got to be layered, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's the values framework, of course, but as a team, we do have needs. Let's say, for example, if I'm part of a team, right, I will have needs in the team too. The question is this, right? For example, we talked about safety, psychological safety. We talk about, being authentic, right? Can I speak the truth in the team? Because the other one is cost what the power metrics, right? If I'm in the team, uh, do I have any influence and power and control in the team or not?
Correct.
Do I matter or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I
Uh, am
valued?
I am I valued? Am I included or not? The other need that I have in the group is that, am I going to have fun and enjoyment emotionally when I be involved in this team?
Yeah.
Will the others allow me to do that? Do allow me to be myself, to be enjoying what we're doing as a team, basically? Yeah. Another one would be, do I get the respect, the significance? Do I feel personally important or not? Yeah. And are people also very, very open and quick to work together in cooperation and working together? Yeah. Rather than saying, no, that's your job, not mine, and all that sort of. And the question at the end of the day, finally, for the team to really be a very high performing, is everybody focused on being the best they can be in whatever they do in the team, to be world class in whatever they do in the team, and supporting each other to be the best they can be in their own areas of skill and performance, you know.
That's
So
right.
that's really what it takes. So the needs need to be met too, yeah, quite apart
Yeah.
from the organizational framework of values.
And feedback comes right in hand right there, because when you see that the person is not holding their part of the bargain, you can also come to them, and since you have the psychological safety already in place, and say, hey Tony, I see it seems like you're struggling with this part. How can I help you? Is everything okay?
Yeah.
uh Tell me, how can I be of service to you? Right, to have this ability to help each other out, so that they can all grow together and even create an even better bond.
Yeah, that's what we mean by, you know, the what you call peer accountability, right?
Yeah.
We're able to spot each other and we're able to call each other out and say, hey, you know, need any help? And this area you need to take care of, because otherwise the whole team will fail, you see?
Yeah.
Yeah. That reminds me, you know, I mentor a student in college, right? And biggest question this young man has is that, you know, how do I get, because they work on projects as a team, right? As a group, 3 or 4 people, right? And he said, you know, so how do I get people to do their part of the job? Yeah. And he's struggling with that because, you know, as a college student, right, you come together, do a project, and sometimes there might be one person who says, you guys get it done. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to do. And he wants to sit back and let the others do the job. Does it happen in organizations? Yes, it does.
Quite often.
Right.
Quite often.
So, you know, one has to be able to kind of, you know, number one, when you're part of the team, of course, have your own needs met in the team. But then, of course, that's why we say the peer accountability is very, very important. But to be able to have peer accountability, which means you can call out your colleague in the team, if you want to be able to call that out, you must have still the psychological safety. So time and again, Jerry, we've been talking a lot of different topics, right? When people come together as a team, so fundamental, the trust and psychological safety must be ever present
Yeah.
and available to everyone in the group. Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't work at all.
Yeah. And as you're saying, that was coming up because I have a workshop in 2 weeks, and I had a talk with the CEO of the group,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked him, what is a common problem that all CEOs are having. So this guy is the CEO of a group, and in this group there are a number of organizations that belong to that group. So all the CEOs, or most of the CEOs of each company in that group, are coming together to this workshop. And I asked him, I want to know what is the main problem that you see. And he thought about it for a second, and he said, I would say that the biggest problem we all have is listening, like really listening, because we
Mm,
tend to know everything. We tend to be fast thinkers, and we know what people are going to say, so we don't even let them finish. So,
mm.
doesn't matter what position you're in, you have to learn to develop listening skills. Not just listen to respond, but listen to understand what the other person is saying. And that's
Yeah.
another thing that works really well in teams, when you have that ability to listen to each other. And of course, you need the psychological safety first, so that people can open their mouths. But second of all, it doesn't mean anything if you're not listening.
Yeah. Can you imagine being in a team and whenever you want to say something, no one's listening to you?
I've been in those teams. I've been in those. Yeah, I know how it feels. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
You
it
know, so
devalues
I
you.
mean, yeah, you know, there's no sense of belonging there, right?
Neat.
Yeah. So how can you then be your best? Yeah. I mean, those are fundamental skills, no doubt, right? And one of the key elements that most organizations or even HR experts have found out is this. One of the key reasons why people leave a company is they don't have a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm not important here. I don't matter here. Whatever I say, nobody listens. Never mind in the project, right?
You know, I was just having that conversation with a client earlier,
Mm,
and he was saying, he said that his project got canceled, and it was supposed to be very important. And he felt demotivated. And then we were just having a conversation. I was telling him that normally this happens with engineers, that they work for years on a project and then it gets shelved or shut down without an explanation, without an offboarding, without nothing. It's just, okay, drop that and start working on the next thing as if it doesn't matter. And this creates such a sense of devalue in the employees that's why, as you said, that they just leave because they don't have a sense of belonging. What I do here doesn't matter. I don't matter. Why should I be here?
Yeah.
And managers, I think the managers understand that, but they are so busy that they don't take the time in order to offboard the people and to really communicate what's really happening or what's coming from the top instead of just giving them decisions. So that's also part of that communication. And managers are also part of a team. So they should also be able to work in that communication together with the team.
Yeah. So then we started the question. So are you a group or a team? How do you shift from being a group to being a team? Right. So we've just laid down a lot of the different requirements or prerequisites that makes you a high performing team. Right. So the shifting is very, very clear. You got to have psychological safety. You got to have, all the belongingness and the respect. As you said, listening. People have to very, very consciously shift their thinking. I'm not a group. I'm not just a one person here. I want to be a team, because the only way you can be a high performing team is to put all those in place. Yep. That's the big shift that you need to make. Yeah. Otherwise, it ain't going to work.
And you also have to, regardless of the sector, you always have to bring it back to the why. Excuse me. You always have to bring it back to the why. Why is it that we are now thinking about the way that we operate as a team? Or why is it that we want to be a cohesive team? Like, what is that why? We need to have that connectivity so that everybody is aligned in the reason and work together towards achieving that goal, right? That's another important thing. Now, as probably over there in Malaysia as well, but here in Germany, companies are running to the fences, saving budget. There's no money. They're cutting everything because the economy is going to take a turn and they're preparing. So as a team, how do we get that energy that we have and we use it to help the organization instead of just running around in fear mode, right? Without having a clear structure and strategy to help each other out. So you can save a lot of money if you are a manager or a company owner. You can save a lot of money by aligning your teams with why and with what we are talking about today, so that you can save money, because they will not be wasting energy in stuff that doesn't matter and focus on the priorities. So, because many people don't want to work on teams and work on making things better because they say there's no ROI. There's no business case there. Yes, there is. You will save a lot of money because they're not going to be running around like chickens. So I use the term chickens. I don't know why. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, in that kind of situation, Jerry, where you have this tremendous flux going on and people, the big fear going on, and people are not sure whether, am I secure in my job anymore in this company? Will the company put out the necessary budgets for us to get the job done, right? In those situations, the critical thing that needs to happen, and this is where Cisco, the company Cisco, IT company, has been very, very successful in their acquisitions. The biggest critical factor there was transparency. Can you imagine now that in that situation in Germany, it demands even higher level of transparency, because any kind of indication of, holding back information is going to be convoluted, conflated in so many ways that you lose your people, you lose the drive, you lose the energy, you lose the teamwork. So that's very, very critical. The level of transparency and communication, as you said earlier, listening. Yeah. They have to shift that now very strongly, especially in your situation like that. anything can, we talk about a lot of fake news and whatever, right? Transparency is critical now in those kind of situations. The management team, the CEOs have got to really come out and really be clear with their people. I remember in the early 90s, this happened to Dell,
Yeah.
Yeah. And we spoke earlier in, I think, 91 or something like that. The whole computer market was going through some very major upheaval, and it was going to turn down. And Dell was really losing a lot. And you know what? The only way they could kind of hold on to it and grow from there was Michael Dell himself with his number two, I forgot it's Rogers or something like that. Yeah. Completely open up everything to the people, admitted that they were the ones that holding everything back, completely communicated that throughout the whole organization transparently, completely transparently. And that's how they managed to survive, and today is still very successful, right?
Yeah. Very
Absolutely.
successful company.
That shifting needs to happen to full transparency.
Yeah.
Now, how did he do that? Difficult, but try to do it.
First, you grab a little box. You have to have a box, has to be maybe 12 inches by 12 inches. It has to be deep. So that then once you have the box ready, make sure you have duct tape around it, right? So then you can grab your ego, put it in that box, and close the box. Gotta put the ego aside so that you can move forward, right? At the end of the day, we want to be happy at work. We want to be happy in life. We want to contribute. We want to feel valued, and we want to feel part of a community. If we all want that, right? At different levels, of course, but if we all want that, why not work together in achieving that? Because time over time, Gallup, all these survey companies, they show that when teams are happy, when teams are performing properly and getting along well, the performance goes off the roof.
Yep. When they're happy and enjoying themselves.
It works. It's not rocket science. It's not voodoo. It's not woo-woo. It's data. So why not work together? And at the same time, I'm a big money saver. I love saving money. So why not use this as a tool to save money, especially now in 2024, because that's what we are all looking for. So before we end the podcast, I just want to say that we would like to, I wouldn't say welcome you. I wanted to say we would like to recommend to you to think about what you have heard in this podcast today when it comes to your team and yourself as a leader. If you're a leader, think yourself as a leader. Are you contributing to your team to make sure that they are becoming the team that they ought to be? Think about it, because it is so important, and going on in 2024 with all this overwhelm, overworked, depression, and everything that is going on, it is more than ever important to make sure that your team feels psychologically safe and that they feel like they are together working towards one thing.
Yeah, it really depends on the leader or the manager to create the space, to create the frames or frameworks for the team to do its best. Yeah, and make that shift from group to team and be high performing and have fun.
And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be like you just wave a wand or your fingers, It's going to take time, but you're going to see results if you start today. So it is a thing that you need to work on, but you will see the progress and you are going to reap what you sow. So.
Yep. Yeah.
Everyone,
ROI is there. Yeah.
Yes. So everyone have a beautiful day. I enjoyed myself here with Anthony Pinto, directly from Malaysia. And we will see you on the next podcast. And we hope that you get something out of this one.
Yep. Thanks, Jerry. Yeah. Glad to be here.
All right, guys. See you.
See you.